Farlost, created by John Miro.
34. At least he stopped yapping. Dina swallowed her annoyance, listening to the Betty's rude old engineer. On the other end of the line from the Betty, connected through the Toad's comm systems, someone on the tram laughed. A deep booming sound, mixed with what sounded like the wheeze of fireplace bellows. Then the one called Doug spoke. "We miss you too, Ben." His deep voice quieted. "Don't worry, Newark is coping. Having your voices back helped a lot. Thank you, Pilot Rodriguez." "Yeah," Ben parroted back. "Thank you, Rodriguez." Dina felt her annoyance blow apart, hearing the gratitude and relief in the old engineer's voice. She'd known other good men who'd hid their emotions behind quips and barbs, and she recognized that now. "Don't think about Doc Sanders," she told herself, and she didn't. "No problem, old man," she responded in kind. "I'll take care of your crew. You just concentrate on flying straight. Don't put any dents on my ship when you dock, eh? I'm the one they sent out to fix them." Ben laughed. "Yeah, I like her too," he said, muffled, to someone in the room with him. That would be Captain Travis, she remembered. Dina let out her own muffled laugh and ran her eyes across the displays in her small cockpit. A lot had happened in the last couple hours, she marveled, but having a job to do let her push it all into short-term storage. The Toad was rumbling comfortably around her. Dina would be running long and hard, but she'd done it before, and she knew the craft could take it. She eyed the tram ahead. Less than half an hour and she'd be there. "More humans," commented a nearly perfect artificial voice. Daisy and Gruber had called that one Salix. Just what this system needs. "Don't be racist, you thorny scarecrow," Captain Travis teased. "A lot of us are just fine." Under Travis's voice, Dina heard Beecham shouting out numbers and questions to Engineer Gruber on another circuit. Sometimes it was hard for Dina to keep all the voices in the different places straight, but she was used to juggling reports. Only before this, the voices had all been human. The Toad was too far away to talk to Six directly now. All her tight beam systems were in use, talking with the Betty, doing math, or taking measurements. Dina didn't interrupt. She kept the circuit open, both as a courtesy to the terrified crew on the tram and to hear familiar voices herself, as she called up the vid of her flyby with the Betty. She scrolled through the vid with her finger, focusing on the big window above the Betty's bridge. There. She froze the image and watched as the computers cleaned it up. A shark floated in that window, staring out. No, not a fish, more like a whale. "This is gonna take getting used to," she murmured. "Please repeat, Pilot Rodriguez," called that deep voice from the tram. Doug was the one in charge down there, keeping everyone calm. She sensed empathy in him, even trapped as he was, with limited air, no control over direction, with a trapped crew with him. She responded to the compassion in that alien voice. "There's a fish on the Betty's bridge? Blue-gray like a dolphin with a split tail. What's its name?" "Wish is a he. He is a manta." "That's it!" Dina snapped her fingers. "Looks just like a manta ray. Someone human named him?" "Yep," Wish chimed in, with a pop and a high whistle on the open line. "And that's what we call ourselves. Human is easiest for most of the races." "English," Gruber snapped. "It's the English language, shark bait." Dina grinned, enjoying the banter, but the emotion cooled quickly. She was on a rescue mission, not her first. They didn't always turn out pretty. She felt the iron form in her chest. She was going to make this one turn out pretty. Doug? I hate to be morbid, but how's the air in there? I'm about 38 minutes out, and docking might take another 15. Are you all suited just in case the soup gets thin?" "We've got days of oxygen, Pilot Dina," Doug replied. "It's steering and stopping we need help with." Dina frowned. "I thought oxygen was... Never mind. How are you for heat?" "The tram is old tech, but your scientists built her to last. We have backup systems to keep our joints from freezing for days yet. We'd need to dump the toilet tanks before tomorrow, and it smells like wet tumbler in here." Twin snapping sounds interrupted Doug, like wet towels targeting rears in a locker room. "Well, it does." Doug barked out with a laugh. Dina frowned harder, despite admiring Doug's ability to keep his crew's mind off their possible fate. Which was what? Something wasn't right. She'd volunteered for this mission because they needed to be retrieved before their life systems failed, because they couldn't wait out there for the Betty and HHL-6 to pick them up. Help me out here. What was the rush sending me after you? Silence for a moment. Hard silence, like someone on the tram had pressed a mute switch. Then the background hiss returned. "Captain?" asked Doug. Asking what? Permission? Dina's concern notched up to suspicion. What were their allies keeping from them? A squelch on the line, and another imperfect machine voice came on from the Betty before Doug could respond. "Ahoy, Ascom Lab 6. A critical thrust adjustment is required." "Back in a sec, pilot," Captain Travis called, just as Beecham's voice snapped. "What thrust adjustment? My systems—" Before any acknowledgement was made, Navokoro called out for the commander, her voice shrill and panicked. "Bogey inbound, Commander. It's that big one. It—" Rose's voice dropped to a whisper. Dina craned her neck to hear. "It's following us." "Oh, shit," breathed Gruber. "Daisy's not wrong. Your systems aren't fast enough. You gotta listen." Riding a wave of adrenaline, Dina tasked another monitor to archival footage and scrolled backwards in the timeline, back to when she and Murray and Raj had been patching the power line outside 6, and the new world had blinked into existence around them. She stared at the biggest of the wrecks, all silver and white and brilliant reflective surface. "Why is the ghost of Christmas past on our tail?" screeched Beecham. "Betty," cut in Commander Montaigne, "tell us what's happening." "It's the gravity, isn't it?" Beecham called out. "The Thorn's pull is changing. Is that what's making that ship float up?" Dina's forehead wrinkled with confusion, but she kept silent. "We said new arrivals were a tasty morsel," Captain Travis said, his voice muted. "We weren't kidding. The Thorn is alive, or aware, or something, and it wants you." Gruber cut in. "I've seen footage of this before. One time, long before we got here, an arrival was under power, trying to escape. The Thorn smashed the ship with gravity. Looks like God's hand smashed the ship flat." His voice was somber, not frightened, insistent. "We're in this, together. Do what Daisy says if you want any of us to get out alive." Nothing but static on the channel now. No answer from 6, only murmurs in the background. Suddenly, from her circuit to the tram came a keening. From the one called Newark. Dina cursed herself, hearing his pain. Just as she could hear the Betty and 6 through their open channel, the tram could too. Dina looked down at a real-time view behind her. Even from this far away, she could make out a white point of light. Only light magnification was needed before she could see the gleaming wreck, moving fast toward 6 in the Betty. She slammed the padded arm of her chair. A living planet was reaching out to slap them down with gravity. A 1,000-year dead ship was racing up to beat the Thorn to them? To do what? Her console buzzed. She focused on the blinking icon on her screen, a LiDAR sweep of an area ahead. She'd wanted advance notice of any debris in her path. Traveling as fast as she was, it was suicidal not to keep an eye out. She tapped it open. Her eyes widened. Not debris. Too big, whatever it was, too far away to cause her or the tram any trouble. What had signaled it? The LiDAR alarm buzzed again. She tapped open the new information. An overlay of the same big thing. But closer now. Something big was racing toward them. Directly toward the tram and the toad. Who or what was it? "Not good enough, Captain," called Montaigne, her voice barely in check. "We need each other to survive, but I need answers more than blind faith right now. Find a camera and sit yourself in front of it. It's time we looked each other in the eye." Dina started tapping a data burst, not trusting this new information to a party line. But the commander had to know what was coming. Typing faster, cursing her trembling fingers, Dina couldn't count how many kinds of trouble they were in. Farlost.
Music by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Learn more at servingworlds.com.
Hi, John Miro here. This month, Farlost is brought to you by Patreon backers like you and executive producer Tom Phoenix. Patronage starts at 25 cents a cliffhanger or $1 a month. Patreon.com. Thank you for your support.